Hey you guys, what's up? It's Anime Blaze coming to you with another video, that is right. And welcome to another episode of Blaze Talks. Some of you guys are probably new and have no idea what Blaze Talks is. Blaze Talks is a part of my channel where I take given ideas, different ideas. Most of the time it's dealing with anime or manga. Sometimes it could be other things, but it's pretty much where I take the idea and I think about it for a while, whether it's a couple of weeks or a month, however long it takes me to, I guess, really form an idea of what it is that I want to talk about. And I come and give you guys my thoughts and opinions in a video so you guys can get the gist of where I'm coming from. And yeah, today we're going to be talking about cartoons, reboots, and I guess a few other things kind of pertaining to that in that area. If I remember to talk about them, hopefully I do, because for the most part, Blaze Talks is unscripted. I don't like to script things. I just like to have bullet points as ideas to help me remember it, jog my memory and everything like that. So I guess we'll start off with the main topic here. I guess, Blaze, what do you think about reboots? What do you think about cartoon reboots or just reboots in general? Honestly, I don't think that reboots are a bad idea, especially when you look at things that, like the comic book industry are doing with like the New 52, which is taking like, I guess, older properties, like older characters and stuff like that, and reintroducing them to a newer audience, and even taking older, even taking characters that are currently being used and rewriting them for a more modern audience so that they can get introduced and, acquainted with them. And I think that is a brilliant idea. And it keeps the cycle going and stuff. It's a really, really awesome thing. However, I do think that there are also wrong ways of doing reboots. And I guess, especially when you look at things that are going on now with like Cartoon Network and everything, you kind of start questioning things, or at least that's what I've been doing. So I'm going to be talking about, I guess, a few different things in general. I guess I'll start with, I guess I'll start with the arguments of people around my age, at the age of like 20 to between ages, I guess, maybe 18, 19 to about 24 or 25. We'll go over that area. So a lot of you guys who may not be within that age range might not know, but a lot of the time, a lot of the arguments that have been going on with people around my age, between 19 and 24, maybe 25, is reboots. Good idea, bad idea, ruining my childhood, not meant for you, that kind of thing. And there are a lot of people, I guess both sides kind of have, they both have their, possible reasons, or not possible reasons, but they both have good arguments for and against them. So I guess I'm going to try to cover a little bit of both of them, I guess I'll start with the side that, says that it ruins their childhood. Growing up, you guys, a lot of you guys have probably noticed this, maybe not, I'm not sure. It's been happening a lot recently, though. But over time, reboots with cartoons and shows and stuff like that have been happening for, a very, very long time. For shows like He-Man and Johnny Quest, stuff like that. So I guess shows like Yogi Bear and even freaking Scooby-Doo, which is renewed like, what, every couple of years or something like that. I guess reboots have been done for a really, really long time. And I don't know, I don't really know whether we could say that it's ruined our childhoods, because if you really think about it, the original shows, the original properties, the original ones that started it all still actually exist out there somewhere, whether, you're forced to watch it online, or you can go out and buy the DVD or the digital version on, Amazon or wherever, the original versions of the shows still exist. It's not like when a new version of a show comes out that it just overwrites everything like a save file on a video game. It's not like it just invalidates everything that the previous one did. It's still set into place. And I guess I think it was the Nostalgia Critic put it best when he was talking about the Last Airbender in the movie. I know it's not cartoons, but stay with me here. He said that, even though this craptastic movie came out, was supposed to be an adaptation of the cartoon, it can never portray the the loving characters, the story, and everything that the cartoon brought to our attention. It could never ruin what was originally created. It's just sitting in its own corner somewhere, doing its own thing, you know. And I think that's how we should look at things somehow. Sometimes with cartoons, don't look at it as the end all be all. And I think don't get me wrong. I understand where people are coming from with the idea that these shows are ruining their childhoods, because it's like these shows is like coming into place. Like, oh yeah, a new show coming, a reboot of the show. It's going to be freaking awesome. I can't wait to see it. It's going to be, it's going to be awesome. I can't wait to see it. And then they come and see it, and it's like total opposite of what they expected, or it has a lot or some slight differences from the original that people might not be a big fan of. And yeah, like I said, I totally understand that, because they want to see what made the show what it was. The original, the OG show that made the newer one what it was. Because, like I said, the newer show couldn't exist without the original. That sort of thing. But at the same time, I think that we need to take these reboots, whether they're good or bad, with a grain of salt. If it's good, then we should, put it on top of the other one and say, hey, this made this show even better. But if it's bad, I think that we should just push it off to the corner and eventually, it takes a while, eventually act like it never existed in the first place. And yeah, that's what we've done with The Last Airbender. Now, moving on to the other argument of people saying that this show isn't meant for you, you're an adult now, stop complaining, that kind of stuff. I gotta say, I'll agree with people on the idea that this show isn't meant for the older audience. And that's a fact. The fact that these shows were brought back, whether it was based off of nostalgia from the older audience or not, these shows were brought back almost specifically for a younger audience. And so, yeah, there are going to be a lot of changes, whether it's humor, comedy, whatever. There are going to be a lot of things that we don't necessarily like about it. So I think, at least for the most part, we will have to let some of it slide. Some of it, not all of it, but some of it slide, because it is, like I said, again, for a newer audience. So yeah, I agree with that. The newer adaptations or the newer reboots and stuff like that aren't meant for the older generation, the older audience. However, I have to disagree with the idea that we can't complain or we can't talk about these reboots because they're new and they're not meant for our generation. That's where I disagree, because even I find it kind of weird and maybe even somewhat hypocritical. I don't know if that fits into that or not, but I just find it kind of odd that we'll say, hey, we like this new reboot, we love it, we like to hype up and say that the newer reboots and stuff are good, that they're awesome, they're spectacular. We'll say good stuff about it, but as soon as somebody comes into play and says that, hey, this doesn't seem right, this might not seem good, I'm not a big fan of, this, that, or the other, we want to downplay it and say that, hey, no, get out of here with that opinion, stop complaining, And that's the kind of thing that, I don't want to see. I'm kind of tired of seeing. Now, I understand for the people that are just like, butthurt or always complaining, oh, I hate this show, 24/7, if they hate it, they hate it, but, you don't have to complain about it all the time. I get that part. But for the people that are actually forming constructive criticisms with the show, forming together, ideas and different things that they don't like, everybody is still just lumped into the opinion show, whether and quite honestly, I guess even with the people that say that the show ruined their childhood, I don't consider that to be a bad criticism. That's still an opinion. I consider it to be somewhat hypocritical to be on the idea or be on the notion that we can only say good things about the show. Whatever happened to good, honest reviews, good, clean, honest reviews and criticisms of things that happen, media, books, and I guess media covers that, but, TV shows, movies, books, kitchenware, whatever, paint, you name it, Whatever happened to having the ability of being able to form an honest, clean opinion of that? Is that just suddenly chunked out of the window because, oh, you're complaining, it's a new reboot, you can't say anything bad about it? Well, I gotta say this an amateur reviewer, if anything. As an amateur reviewer and just a human being in general, I honestly don't care. I'm going to form my opinion regardless of what the opposition may be. I mean, that's what a review does, and I get I understand. Like I said, I understand the idea that it wasn't meant for us. I get that. I will 100% honestly understand that these new shows weren't meant for us. But at the same time, uh, we can't help as people and as the older audience, the people who don't like the reboots sometimes, we can't help but compare the original to the reboot. And I mean, it's pulling from the same name, so it's like almost impossible not to. And, you know, like everything else, just like I say with anime, manga, and everything else I say on this channel, everything can't be good. Nothing is 100% like flawless, no bad to it whatsoever. Everything can have something. And even that is somewhat opinionated, you know? But again, nothing is 100% flawless. Nothing is 100% impeccable and has no imperfections in it. Everything has some kind of flaw in it that makes it stand off just a little bit. And some of these reboots honestly have something that doesn't make them good. Um, and I guess I'll talk about it. Powerpuff Girls. I'm still going to do a review of Powerpuff Girls. I just need to watch more of the show. I haven't gotten a chance to recently, though. I haven't gotten a chance to watch more of the newer episodes. But again, newer Powerpuff Girls, I guess with the Powerpuff Girls, compared to the original, it is very different. It's very much different. Some of the characters are written a lot differently than they originally were in the original series. A lot of different humor, and some of it needs work. That's a given. But overall, I don't think it's a bad show. Teen Titans Go, what seemed to be a slap in the face, actually turns out to be somewhat of a decent comedy of the original. Somewhat. I still have bad notions and bad ideas about that. And I guess even, the newer trailer for the Ben 10 reboot that's come out, I have somewhat of an opinion on it, but we actually have to wait till next year to actually be able to watch it and I guess give our honest opinions and stuff on it. But yeah, I have my thoughts on it just based off of the trailer. I guess kind of mean with the way things were somewhat going, at least a little bit. But yeah, I'll just have to wait. So I guess that is what I wanted to cover as far as like reboots go. I guess both sides of the argument on that. And I guess now I just kind of want to talk about cartoons in general and stuff. I guess where cartoons stand, and even a little bit going in with talking about the reboots at least a little bit, because it kind of blends into that. Like a lot of people say, every generation always says that their cartoons or whatever of their generation was better. That's a given. Everybody thinks that their generation is the best. However, with cartoons, I kind of noticed at least a difference with the way that things are going. And I kind of get this at least a little bit. When you compare shows that used to come out when I was growing up, we had the original Teen Titans, we had the original Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, Static Shock, I guess, what else do we have? Ben 10, different shows like that. We had shows that were story based, that were based off of other material and different things like that. We had shows that were based off story, and we also had shows that were based on comedy, lightheartedness, and just all around fun. We had shows like Powerpuff Girls, and in which respect I will pay that to the newer Powerpuff Girls being able to paint the newer show with just overall fun, excitement. Even though I do think that the original one was a little bit smarter in some regards. Some regards. Come on. But um, we had shows that were fun that we could just watch and just enjoy and everything like that. And we also had our own story-based shows. However, I guess with a lot of the shows that are coming out now, and I'm not saying that, that having shows that are fun and just cool to watch and stuff like that, I'm not saying that that's a bad thing because honestly, I enjoy shows like Regular Show and uh, the adventures of, the amazing adventures of Gumball and, stuff like that. And, I enjoy shows like that. However, I do think that it's kind of odd and kind of weird to, when you look at it, Cartoon Network having almost an entire lineup of shows that is like entirely comedy based. Like, I think that we're in the era of everything has to be a joke and everything has to be funny as far as like cartoons go and everything like that. And I guess in some respect that it's the era of like, you know, where's the story? You know what I'm saying? Like, and I guess this could just be, oh, it's not meant for you. It's for, different audiences, different things like that. But at the same time, I kind of think like, man, the only real story-based cartoon that I know of that Cartoon Network really has is Steven Universe. And Steven Universe is something that I think like a lot of people can enjoy. Like, it has its silly, like, random moments of humor and everything like that. But for the most part, it has an actual ongoing story with lovable characters and characters that, that actually have character progression, that learn and get better and stronger, and learn to care as the story progresses. But I just feel that, like, for the most part, it kind of seems like that Cartoon Network doesn't really have that many story-based shows. And I don't get me wrong, I like random humor as much as the next guy, but I think that, especially, I guess, when growing up as a kid, like, and I guess kind of, you can brush this off if you want, but this is just my opinion, coming from my perspective. But growing up as a kid, I noticed that, we had a lot of funny shows. But at the same time, I noticed that a lot of shows that I liked even more were the shows that had a storyline, that had a relatable character, that I could grow up with, that sort of thing. A character that, that I could come to know for myself. And that over the course of the show, they grew and they got stronger, they got smarter, and they learned, And I guess even going back to the original Ben 10, now I'm not sure how the new Ben 10 is going to turn out. It could be awesome, could be totally garbage. We don't know. But one thing that I can tell you about, shows like, for example, the original Ben 10 and, everything like that. The original Ben 10 that I watched, when I was a kid, the first one, without the newer animation and stuff. The first Ben 10 series that I watched a kid who was like 10 years old, who was like the most conceited guy that I could know. Was like, well, I guess at 10 years old, you probably would be that conceited and wouldn't really care about really anyone else but yourself. But seeing him put into a position of, I guess, responsibility and like, hey, this thing could potentially destroy the Earth, if not the entire universe, the Omnitrix, you need to learn. And over the course of the series and over the course of the show, you actually notice that. You notice how he changes and how he actually learns and grows and everything like that. So much so even into Ben 10 Alien Force, where he's 15, got smarter, wiser, still a little bit conceited, little bits here and there. But for the most part, he's gotten smarter and better. And I grew up with, Ben 10 Alien Force, Ultimate Alien, and even, I guess, later when I graduated high school, close to graduation, and when I'm in college, and I'm still in, Omniverse. You get to see the story elaborated and brought out even more, So I think it's pretty interesting that they can do that, and that they did that. And the one thing that I always say that I loved about Ben 10 was that he grew, that he didn't stay the same, that he wasn't just some static character that stayed the same throughout the entire thing, but that he actually changed. You know, from I guess from Ben 10 to shows like Generator Rex to what was it, the Secret Saturdays to yeah, I went there, Secret Saturdays to Justice League and Justice League Unlimited, watching characters change and stuff like that, to shows like Static Shock. That one of like I said, the thing that I've always loved was that the characters always learned and grew and got older, you know, and storytelling. And in some ways, I think that's what Cartoon Network is lacking. Like the only show that they have that really does that is Steven Universe, and it's doing a really good job. But I don't know. I kind of feel that in some regard that Cartoon Network is kind of getting lazy, at least a little bit. I kind of feel like Cartoon Network is getting lazy and letting the reboot train take over. The reboot train and the era of everything has to be funny to make a joke, to even the point where it's cringeworthy, you know, that sort of thing. I think that, you know, that Cartoon Network is getting somewhat lazy with that, and that there aren't really too many story-based shows. So Cartoon Network, if you're listening, this is somebody that grew up with Cartoon Network and Nickelodeon and stuff like that. And I'm going to say this. Kids like random humor. Kids love random, funny, slapstick humor and stuff like that. And, you know, because it works. And it's cool that you do that. But at the same time, I do think that, you know, one thing that kids enjoy even more than random funny moments and random humor, because random funny moments and humor gets old after a while. So, you know, the one thing that I think that kids want even more than that is a good story, a character that they can relate with, a character that is maybe somewhat similar to them. I mean, for example, take a look at Steven Universe. There's a character in that show just about for everyone. There's just about a character in that show for just about every person that watches it that, you know, people can relate to. Whether you're a kid growing up who feels different, whether you're a young adult who's growing up trying to make something of yourself, there's a character in that show for you. Or you're a parent, you know, there's a character in that show for you. And I think that that's something that you guys could use a lot more of. Even, I guess, again, going back to Ben 10, Grandpa Max was, you know, I guess somewhat of a figure in Ben's life and a guidance, kept him on, you know, a certain path. I mean, Ben had a lot of characters that helped him do that. And so, yeah, I think that that is something that, you know, you guys could really use more of. Story-based cartoons. Not saying you have to, because again, it's your network, and I really don't watch Cartoon Network that much anymore, to be honest with you. I mostly just watch, I guess, you know, a few shows, Adventure Time, regular show, you know, Steven Universe, that kind of stuff. But I'm just coming from a perspective of somebody that grew up with you guys, that loved a lot of the stuff that you did, and think that it would be awesome if you were to implement that with a newer, younger audience. And don't take the cheap way out. You know, don't trash shows like Symbionic Titan just for the merchandise. Because, again, in my mind, and in a lot of other people's minds, the story pays out more than the merchandise does. Granted, if the story eventually takes off, then merchandise will too. That's just my 2 cents. I don't really know how a lot of that works, business, TV shows, but I'm just telling you from my perspective how I felt about things, how I saw things, you know, that sort of thing. So, yeah, guys, that's my opinion on cartoons, reboots, etc. Reboots aren't always bad. Reboots aren't always good. Reboots don't ruin your childhood. And you have the right to complain and talk about and critique newer shows, because that is your right as a human being to do. And it is night and day, and it's kind of wrong not to compare a newer show to the original material of where it came from. And I guess even further onto the fact, the era of everything has to be funny, everything doesn't have to be funny, and Cartoon Network, and maybe even some other networks, should include more story-based shows. So that's pretty much it. With that being said, this is the Anime Blaze signing out saying never redact your capabilities because you never know what you might be able to do. Hit me up in the comment section below and tell me what you guys think about this whole thing. What do you think about reboots and cartoons? How do you feel about them? Do you think that they should be done? Yeah, let me know. Let me know in the comment section. If you want to do a video response, hit me up on Twitter and I'll see what I can do from there, and even on YouTube with annotations, I guess. And yeah, so I guess I'll see you guys in later in whatever may be happening that I decide to do later.